Every story is a door. You came here because there's a door calling your name. The orb sees everything. It knows what you need. It has chosen. I only retell. Real or fiction? I won't say. You only need to find meaning for yourself. Listen. The orb glows tonight with a weight of unspoken words. It shows me a wooden box locked for 40 years and a man who carried its secret to his grave. Before I tell you what lies within, let me ask you this. Have you ever looked at someone you love and felt a wall between you? Have you ever believed that someone simply didn't care? That perhaps you weren't enough? What if I told you that the coldest silence can hide the deepest love? And that the distance between two hearts is sometimes not emptiness, but fear? Tonight, the orb reveals the story of George and Michael. A father who never said I love you. A son who spent 50 years believing he was unloved. And a wooden box that changed everything. But be warned. This story may make you question everyone who has ever pushed you away. It may make you wonder what secrets hide behind the faces of those you think you know. Come closer. The orb is ready. And so, I believe, are you? Michael was 50 years old when his father died. 50 years, and he could count on one hand the number of times George had touched him with warmth. No hugs. No proud smiles. No I love you, not even once. When Michael graduated from law school, top of his class, George simply nodded. When Michael won his first major case, George said nothing. When Michael's children were born, George held them briefly, then handed them back as if they might break. Michael grew up with one thought carved into his heart. I am not enough. He became a successful lawyer, not because he loved the law, but because he needed to prove something. To prove that he was worthy. Worthy of a father's pride. Worthy of a father's love. But George remained silent. A ghost living in the same house. Present in body, absent in heart. And now, George lay dying. 75 years old, his body failing, his eyes holding secrets. Michael sat beside him, not knowing what to feel. Grief. For a man who never showed him love. Relief. That the silence would finally end. Then George reached out, his hand trembling, and grabbed Michael's wrist. His grip was weak, but desperate. And he spoke. Michael. George's voice was barely a whisper, each word costing him what little strength remained. I am sorry for everything. Michael leaned closer, confused, waiting. There is a box in my closet, wooden, locked. George's eyes filled with tears, something Michael had never seen before. Open it, after I am gone, and when you do. A pause, heavy with 40 years of silence. You will understand everything. Those were George's last words. He closed his eyes, and the machine beside him went silent. Michael sat there holding his father's hand. A hand that had never held his. A hand that now would never have the chance. The funeral was quiet. Few people came. George had no friends, no connections, just a lifetime of isolation. And a son who did not know if he should mourn or feel nothing at all. But the box waited. In the closet where George said it would be. Small, wooden, locked with a tiny brass lock. Michael held it in his hands, feeling its weight. Not heavy in grams, but heavy with something else entirely. The lock was old, rusted, but it opened easily, as if it had been waiting all these years for this moment. Michael lifted the lid. Inside, only two things. A photograph, faded with time, and a letter, yellowed, written in his father's handwriting. The photograph showed a little girl, about 5 years old. Bright eyes, a smile full of innocence, pigtails tied with ribbons. Michael did not recognize her. He turned the photograph over. On the back, in faded ink, 2 words. Emily, 1981. Emily. Who was Emily? Michael's hands trembled as he unfolded the letter. The paper was fragile, thin, as if it had absorbed decades of grief. The date at the top read, March 15th, 1981. And the first line shattered everything Michael thought he knew. My dearest daughter Emily. Daughter. Michael had a sister? He read on each word, a revelation, each sentence, a wound reopening in his father's heart. And slowly, the truth emerged. A truth that had been buried for 40 years. In a wooden box, locked away from the world. My dearest daughter Emily, today would have been your 5th birthday. But you are not here to celebrate it. You left us 1 month ago, taken by a disease I could not cure. I am a doctor. I have saved hundreds of lives. Strangers, people whose names I will never remember. But I could not save you. My own child, my little girl. I held you in my arms and watched you slip away. And there was nothing I could do. Your brother Michael is only 2. He will not remember you. And I cannot speak of you. Because every time I try, the words turn to tears, and the tears turn to silence. I have made a decision today. A terrible decision, but the only one I can bear. I will not love openly again. I cannot. Because to love is to risk losing. And I cannot survive with another loss like you. Michael will grow up, and I will keep him safe. But I will not hold him close. Because if I do, and something happens to him, I will break completely, forever. I know this will hurt him. I know he will think I do not care. But the truth is, I care too much, I love too deeply. And that love has become my prison. Forgive me, Emily. Forgive me, Michael. Forgive me, your father. Michael dropped the letter, and for the first time in 40 years, he wept. Not quiet tears, but sobs that shook his entire body. Grief not for his father's death, but for his father's life. A life spent in fear. A life spent hiding love because showing it hurt too much. And suddenly, everything made sense. Why George panicked every time Michael got sick, rushing him to doctors for the smallest fever. Michael thought it was control. It was terror. Why George forbade Michael from climbing trees, from riding motorcycles, from anything dangerous. Michael thought it was coldness. It was desperation to keep his only remaining child alive. Why George never hugged him? Because every hug reminded him of the last time he held Emily. As she took her final breath, George did not love too little. He loved too much. So much that he could not bear to show it. Because showing it meant admitting how much he had to lose. Michael looked at the photograph again. His sister, Emily, whom he never knew existed. She was smiling. And in that smile, Michael saw his father's entire tragedy. I understand now. Dad. Michael whispered to the empty room. I forgive you and I love you. I always did. How many relationships have been destroyed by silence? How many fathers and mothers hide their love behind walls of fear? How many children grow up believing they are not enough when the truth is they are loved beyond measure? George loved Michael, but he did not know how to love without being afraid. And so he lost 50 years. 50 years of hugs never given. Words never spoken. Moments forever gone. Tonight, I ask you this. Is there someone in your life whom you know matters, but you have never told them? Perhaps fear stops you. Perhaps pride. Perhaps you are waiting for the right moment. George waited 40 years and a letter from beyond death. You do not have to wait that long. Tonight, call someone. Say what needs to be said. Because tomorrow is promised to no one. The orb grows dim now, its story told. But yours is still being written. What will you write in the chapters that remain? Until next time, when the orb glows again, with another truth waiting to be revealed.